Hello, hello, hello. I've been waiting for this podcast for so long. Welcome, everyone. Association Transformation episode 100 and many. But irrespective of where we are on the calendar, I can't wait to get into this. We've been waiting to have Beth Z for so long. But Andrew Chamberlain, Elevated, hello, welcome, my co-host.
Hi.
I
Thanks for
guess,
just
thanks for
being
being
here as
awake. I
usual.
don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm here. It's good. No, I'm looking forward to this as well. It's nice. It's a nice change actually, because to welcome Beth, our nerdy best friend, because for so long you've been my nerdy best friend. So yeah, it's nice to have another one.
You're right. And I do love, well, anyway, Beth, thank you for joining us. It's so glad to finally get you on. Beth Z, your nerdy best friend, yournerdybestfriend.com, the, I don't know, the tech guru, the make tech safe for everyone. The tech can be fun, don't be afraid expert within the nonprofit and association space. I mean, that's the, I don't know. I love the brand. I love the expertise. I love your style. So excited to have you with us. But Andrew's not always the techiest, right?
Oh, hang on a minute. That's not fair. That's
Let's
not
be gentle
fair.
with him.
Yeah, all right, okay, go on then. That is fair. Go on then. Fine. Yeah. That is
Let's be
fair
gentle
actually.
with him. Be gentle.
Hmm.
But I first off love that you've made the word nerd safe. That being a nerd is good. I am a nerd. I dress up for May the 4th. I love all my dragon shows. I play all the video games with my son. I I'm a nerd and I love it. And I'm a nonprofit nerd first and foremost. And so being a nerd, I like that this brand, this word is now one that we wear with pride and that we put in our bios and that we say out loud. And I thank you for that.
Hey, well, Potsy did it first, really, on Happy Days and the Fonz. And Potsy, you're such a nerd. But yeah, isn't it cool that nerds are cool now? I actually founded a day called Find Your Inner Nerd Day, and that
Ooh,
is August 23rd. So
okay,
mark
hold
your
on.
calendars, y'all. It's a thing. It's in directories
Find
because
your
it's a
nerd.
thing.
Okay, all right. And I feel like I'm going to need my own lapel pin. I'm just going to need it in like a different material. I mean, we're each going to need our different nerd pin. I have to figure out what mine's going to be made of. Yours is blingy. I want to leave that to you. I'll have to figure out what my medium
Well,
is
what
for.
won't yours be sort of stylized as some kind of intergalactic credit? One of those little gold things you put on
Oh,
your
I
yeah,
like it.
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to explore, maybe get on Etsy, do a little exploration. But Beth is everywhere. She's all over the place between articles and speaking appearances. I'm just glad we get a few minutes of her time today.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. I mean, it's spring 2025, and we could. I feel like we've needed to talk to you about so many things for so many months now. I mean, AI, we're not really debating whether AI is a thing anymore, right? Or whether it's necessary or safe or staying. I mean, that's all true. We're now it's here. How do we use it? How do we maximize it? I mean, we even wrote a white paper on AI. That's how everywhere AI has been, is that association transformation dove in and wrote a white paper on AI. But here we are, 9 months later, and are we getting sophisticated about AI yet?
We're in such a weird place with AI.
Yeah.
So many organizations are just not understanding how to pull it in. We have a lot of people, many organizations don't even have a policy. So, what that
Yeah.
does is that if you're working at an association and nobody's really talking about what you're supposed to be doing or which one you're supposed to be using, you're just using it under your desk and sending it to yourself and not even telling people what's going on. If they're not equipping you with the training and the policy and the guardrails to use
Yeah.
it the right way, however they determine the right way is, you've got people who are just kind of using it. I'm collecting stories about how people are actually using AI, and one of the
Ooh.
stories was this woman says she's not very good at writing, she's not comfortable with it, but she's responsible for doing 20 to 30 different um, birthday and anniversary thanks to the employees, big company, and every month. And she's like, she said, we are not allowed to use ChatGPT, so I use it on my phone and send it to myself. She wrote that down
Mm.
because that's how common it is. And associations who are not addressing this and not helping people move that, it's kind of like you're giving half of your staff Microsoft Office to use and half of your staff a notebook and a pen to use, right?
Are we
So
at
it's such
least,
a weird place.
yeah, are we at least past the AI shame? Are we at
Mm.
least, we're not. So people are still keeping it secret that they use AI to make their first draft or to make their work product better or to write at a higher level. We're still not admitting this.
We're not. And today, actually, when I finish visiting with you, I'm going to put together a list of those telltale signs that something has been written by AI.
Yeah.
And the
But so
M
what?
dash.
So what? Why do we need to out that? Why can't we just help people do it better and then know how to cite it or claim it? I mean, I don't know why we need to feed into the shame of using it.
I, as a writer, I'm conflicted by this. You're right. We don't need to go into the shame of using it. However, we need to work hard to make sure it doesn't look like crap,
Yeah,
and make
true.
sure it doesn't
Very true.
read like crap, and make sure
Mhm.
it's not just baby food
Yeah, yeah.
words. And if you take that few minutes and see those common phrases that it just throws in there every time you see something like, in the fast paced world of technology, in the fast moving world of association management, that, all of that is AI. In
Okay, so there's some
conclusion,
crutches. It has some
all
word
of that,
crutches.
a bunch of them. And so we as communicators in the association industry, when we're talking to our members, we want to make sure that we're really talking to our members and
Mhm.
not just producing words that we were cutting and pasting and putting on a sheet. And
Okay.
so understanding what's going to look manufactured is
Yeah.
important to maintaining our own authenticity
Okay.
versus just accepting what's going on the first time out.
I
That's
think
my theory, but I like your idea too that why is there shame?
I think we kind of is when you talk about with the strange place we're in. The analogy I like to use is we're kind of in the dial-up phase of AI. This is where we were when people were saying the inter what the World Wide Web. What's that? What's that? And we're all trying. You can't don't use the telephone. I need to dial on. I need to go onto the internet. That's the kind of we're in that kind of weird. Eventually, very very quickly, it'll become the norm, and actually the shaming will be why are you not using it? But I think right now one of the things that I see is, and I don't think many people are truly appreciating. You mentioned ChatGPT there. There's so many, the maturity of different AI models, I don't think is fully understood as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem is that people are, they, they're either using, when they are using it, they're using it perhaps the wrong tool for the wrong activity. Because there's the assumption that, well, AI is AI is AI, but we know it's not. Or they're using, tools that are perhaps newer to the market that simply aren't as well trained as something that's
Yeah.
been around from the early days of ChatGPT back in remember that 2023, my God, and I think so I completely see where the whole weird space we are at the moment, but I agree, I don't think we should be shaming people for using it. I think we need to be doing more to support them to
Yeah.
maximize it as a tool, because I just think otherwise we're
So
bumbling around with it.
asking about tools, and I've already taken your advice and I've gotten onto the wait list for Ari, the research piece. So, but and that to your point, Andrew, is a specific AI tool for a specific purpose. What's your favorite? I'm a Claude person. I like Claude. He's my friend, and he's a hard worker. What's your favorite kind of all general tool for AI? What's your trusted platform?
I'm still a ChatGPT girl. And the main reason is because I started there. Now, I was with a company called Jasper at its very beginnings. And that was one of the first companies to use this. And I actually went to their headquarters and interviewed them. And I said, what is this? And this was a year and a half before the Chat GPT came out. It was just called GPT-3, and it was just a format, and you could only access it through maybe 5 companies. So I went down to their headquarters, and by that, I don't mean I had an invitation. I mean I showed up, and I waited for someone to open the door, and I went in, and I was like, "Don't arrest me. Just help me figure out what's going on." And they sat with me for multiple hours actually to show me, because this was all new. So ChatGPT and I started at the very beginning. However, because I'm your nerdy best friend, and this brings back something Andrew said, we know there are ones for this purpose and that purpose. The problem is that every single day something new happens. So you were talking about Ari, which is from a company called you.com, which is a fantastic platform. And then ChatGPT released GPT 4.5. I got it this morning. I was in the restroom. Don't judge me, but I saw I had it. So these are being
pop-up
released.
notifications.
Yeah. And all of these things are happening in real time. I nerd for a living, and I can't keep up. When do you use ChatGPT 4.5? When do you use Copilot inside of Microsoft Word? Where do you get Copilot inside of Microsoft Word? All of these, like, it's happening so quickly that very few people can keep up. I am trying all of them. I pay for several. I tried paying for Claude. Claude and I just didn't click with Claude. Claude is, of course, one of the ones it's from a company called Anthropic, and it's one of those that is supposed to be, and I'm big air quoting here, supposed to be more ethical, supposed to be more ethically sourced, supposed to be safer in terms of what it says. And I heard that the brand new version of it is kicking butt when it comes to
Sonnet. The Sonnet new version is great. Anyway, it's like dating. You have to date different people to find your vibe, find your match, and I appreciate that. I'm not marrying Claude. I mean, we're hanging out. So and he's treating me right these days. But you mentioned all of these tools, and I try to always put myself in an executive director's shoes and think how to approach this as the leader of a team. Is the goal at this point to digest and pick one path? Is the goal or necessity to help make your team literate in all the options? Or is, to your original point, it is the necessity now to set these guardrails and really refine the tools available to your team on your business platforms? What's the first step? I mean, if you thought this was all going to settle out and get easier, and now it's just getting messier, how do you start as an association leader down this path?
If I were an association leader right now, and I used to work for an association as an education director, so I drank the water, right? I was in the trenches. If I were an association leader today, I would look around the office and find out who's already using it and have them drill down on how it's helping them. And then I would come in and say, okay, which problems are we having? I don't have the right staff in place. How can I replace some of the things that I need to get done with some of these tools, right? So don't start with the tool, start with the problems. But talk to the people who are already in your office using it underneath the desk, or they don't really know if they're supposed to, or they brag about it at every meeting. Like whoever you have, there are people who are already leaders who can help guide you through this. Don't try to say, I need to get, I need to do all my due diligence and things. There's no time for that. You have a job to do. You don't have time to nerd for a living and try everything out. Start with the people who are already doing that, put them together, have them come up with a plan, and then train everybody. Because even though you have some people who are like, this has changed my life, you have people who say, I am bitter. I wrote my own dang thesis. I have a PhD and I did it myself. And now you're telling me that I can just do this and it's not very good writing. It's not me. Like, I'm not going to use it. Train them and help them get to the same place. Because my analogy again about giving somebody Microsoft Word and giving somebody a pad and a pen, you can't do that. You have to give everybody the same chance to advance with the tools you have.
But what I heard you say and what, getting back to this shame around AI, in order to reach out to your team and make individuals comfortable to self-identify and to share those lessons learned, those best practices, how they've handled things, you do really have to remove the stigma around AI being cheating or AI being shortcuts or AI being a crutch. And I kind of equate the way AI has been treated. It's like the digital Ozempic. People see it as this shortcut, and yet it's helping a lot of people. And if you use it right, and whether you tell the truth about it or not, maybe that's what this all comes down to: is do you admit you're using AI?
But
Andrew,
I
go ahead.
think, well, I think the point that you just made is about whether you're using it right. And I think it's, it's not enough to know what the tool does. It's you need to know how how to maximize the use of a tool. And I think, one again, I spoke about the maturity of tools and the maturity of the data they're trained on, etc. But actually, the days of just writing in, prompting it and saying, write me a report on A, B, and C. And it'll churn out something fabulous, and you'll say, "Oh my God, that's incredible." It doesn't work like that, and I think people have this misconception or this misperception that it's going to they with very little input, it'll generate something fantastic in terms of its output. But actually being able to effectively prompt, that's the skill. That's the skill. It's not just knowing what the tool does, it's being able to use that tool effectively. And that goes back to the point that Beth was making there. I think, yeah, the policies are critical. The acceptance that we need to use it as a tool, the same way that we have lots of other digital tools, we have to use it. But we've got to be willing to invest in the training and the development of our teams. And I have to say, I find, the association sector, given that education, training and development is a pretty central factor, pretty central core to our proposition, our purpose. It's one of the worst sectors for actually investing in its own development. We mustn't waste members' money on our own development because that'll be perceived as a waste of members' money, even though the indirect benefit is always the outcomes for the members. So actually, I think the commitment can't just be buy the tools, it can't just be write the policies. It's got to be train the people, and embrace it and give, as Beth says. I'm just echoing what Beth says. You get everybody understanding. The same way that we get everybody understanding how to turn their machines on in the morning.
But I heard the focus about being on solutions. I mean, that's what, Beth, isn't that what you're telling us to focus on, is less about the tool or the platform or the usage rules and more about the impact and the outcome we're trying to get from it?
This is the challenge we have right now. All of those things are important, right? And I do a presentation called "The 7 Things Your Organization Needs to Do to Move Forward to Succeed with AI." And part of it is look at your heinous tasks. Start with that. Part of it is find the people who are already doing this. Part of it is look what is available to you. One of the things that's amazing to me, y'all, I'm going to age myself a little bit here. You remember the Commodore 64 computer?
No.
Yeah.
I probably do. I
Yeah, I
probably do.
remember it. Of course I do. Yeah, I
Don't act
remember
so
it.
young, Andrew. You're not young.
Did I have one?
Uh,
No, I didn't have one, but I do remember them.
when I was a little kid, we had one, and it basically was a blank screen, and you had to know what you didn't know to make it work. And
Yeah.
that's what prompting is, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then Steve Jobs and Bill Gates came along and said, you know what? Rather than teaching people to do /B for the bold and the thing, why don't we give them a button that says bold? And so that transformed the way normal people use that
Yeah.
technology.
Hmm.
Well, here we
Hmm.
are in 2025, and AI companies are creating bold buttons rather than saying, I have to know that AI is going to be able to create a presentation for me if I do these things. Nope. Now there's a button that says, create a presentation for me. And
Yeah.
so we are switching from this general idea of you have to walk in there with this knowledge to The knowledge is just sitting there, and I can do the italics button and the bold button, and I don't have to know any code, and I don't have to know anything clever. I'm just pushing a button.
Yeah.
And so that is happening incredibly quickly. It's
Mm,
just
mm-hmm.
sitting there waiting for you in Canva, sitting there waiting for you in Salesforce, in other CRMs, in other association management software. It's just sitting there waiting for you to use it. And a lot of people don't know that if you look for it, it's usually like a little star or a little pen with a star on it or something. There are these little symbols, and it's just sitting there. And you know how when you open up a computer and it's updated your software? Well, first off, it says you've got to update your software, and you're like, not now, not now, not now. And then if it does update your software, it has that splash screen about what's new. And we go, turn it off.
Delete. Yeah, ignore.
Those what's new splash screens right now we got to be paying attention to, because all of a sudden inside Chrome, inside Outlook, inside these things, we have this capability. We just have to know what it is and recognize it, because it's just sitting there now.
Well, and I wonder if you've noticed, it seems that one of the things this AI wave has spawned is something that's not really new, but a lot of people are adopting, is these chat bots, these AI, they call them now AI chat bots, but it's really just a chat bot on their website. And it's pulling from the knowledge that they have fed it. Again, this is one of those areas where I think it's so funny that we think AI is so new. What are your thoughts on how associations are using and implementing AI into their member-facing or their outward-facing platforms and engagements? ASAE just released theirs. There's Betty Bot. I mean, there's all these bots. Everyone gives it a cute little name, whether it's, Wells Fargo has one. I mean, all these. What's the point of them? Is it just a branding thing? Is it really about controlling the knowledge that it's pulling from? Or is it just to look like you're up with it and you're high tech?
It's a shortcut to not have to put so much time and energy into customer relationships and into customer service. And rather than having a phone number where you call the membership office at the association and say, how do I log in? You now have this little thing. And like you said, we've had these things for years, and they've been making people mad for years because it says, do you want to do this or this? And you're like, neither. Okay, you want to do this? No, I don't. No,
it's like when you're in the phone tree and you just put 00 star star pound pound until it forces you to go to a human.
Yes. And so we all have to be very careful about that. And another thing we have to be careful about with association chatbots, AI chatbots, is the hallucination factor. So you could get a chatbot and it could say, yeah, here we are at the conference and the bathrooms are behind the Ferris wheel. There is no Ferris wheel. There's no Ferris wheel. And it's just lying like a rug. And putting those parameters in there is critical. And we're getting better every day. I want to make sure that associations keep the mantra of keep a human in the mix. Don't outsource your customer service and your customer relationships and your member relationships and your event logistics to a little blip, even if it's cute, even if it has a cute little outfit and a cute little name. Yep. Make sure that you have the human in the mix. I don't create a Beth bot because I talk about technology, and even if I put all the parameters in the world, I don't trust it to not say, hey, there is something where you can just write a sentence and build a house. And somebody's going to say, Beth said I could write a sentence and build a house. Well, Beth didn't say such a thing, but the hallucinations, we don't have those under control at all.
Yeah, it's another dialogue that you're responsible for. Not just your board members and what they say, not just your staff, what they say, your press releases, your website. It's just another landscape that you are responsible for. And to your point, if we focus on the word you started with, which is authenticity, there's this balance between demonstrating innovative and technical application for the benefit of the mission and being authentic. I don't know. These whole bots are they're driving me crazy. And like you said, the cuter they are, it's kind of like a wine. Like the cuter the pun of the wine name, the worse it probably is. That's
And another thing is some people are trying to fool people into thinking it's a real person, and they're not trying to seem like it's an AI tool. They think it's a real person. I was at a hotel the other day and I called and said, "Can I get a refrigerator in the room?" And she says, "Yes, I will send a refrigerator to your room. You're requesting a refrigerator, right? Right. Send it to your room." Totally sounded human, 100%. Very big, very glamorous hotel, 100% human. And I was like, I don't think that's human. So I called back again and I said, I would like to ask you some questions about the refrigerator. And she said, "You want a refrigerator in the room?" "Yes." And I'm like, "You're not human. I will send a refrigerator to the room." And I did not get two refrigerators, by the way. But they weren't trying to tell me, it wasn't
No.
someone who said, "Hi, this is your electronic hotel helper bot." They just said hi, and it's totally sounded real. So I don't want us to do that. I want us to admit and just completely say, "Hey, this is going to help you get a lot of your questions answered." Now, I don't know if you heard the other day about HP. Hewlett Packard has a helpline. Every single person on the Hewlett Packard helpline, they said, "We are experiencing longer than normal call volumes. You will be on hold for 15 minutes at least." Turns out they did that to everybody. Everybody who called was on hold for 15 minutes. Why? Because all throughout there, they're trying to point you to other places to solve the problem because they didn't want to have the human in the mix because that costs more than you going and doing it yourself. Thank you. And they were outed.
Yep. Yep. And in the for-profit world, margins and overhead, those things are measured differently. But I always believed in the association and the membership world that we tout networking and connections and relationships as our currency, as one of our most important currencies. And so it's been interesting to watch how associations are trying to benefit from the efficiencies of technology and in some ways overlooking that authenticity element of authenticity around being a community of knowledge. And people for a long time have said, "Oh, no, we have an online platform, like we have an online community." It's it takes what members put. It's a posting board. Great, congratulations, whatever you call it. So I wonder what that next iteration is. Maybe it's our avatars. Maybe it's I don't know if we didn't have that during COVID. I don't know if we. Do you remember the window of virtual trade shows where everyone was going
Oh,
to have their little avatar and we were going
God.
to through a computer
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
going to walk onto the floor and visit the vendors and our little avatars were going to play talk to each other and hang out. I don't know. COVID made
Yep.
a lot of promises in the tech world, and now here we are with chatbots. But
But we have to try them out to see if they're as pathetic as some of us think they are going to be. And sometimes they are. And sometimes it's like, oh, this is an interesting way to communicate.
there
And
you go.
sometimes they're just as pathetic as we think they're going to be.
So what's your biggest wish for associations in the tech space this year? We're still here in Q1. What if you could just give one wish to each, to every association, what would you hope for them in terms of tech?
My wish for every association is an AI day, an AI afternoon, where they stop working on all the other things. They're work, 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 and sit down, good in the same room, and say, what are our biggest tedious tasks? Who's using what? How can we bring this together? How can we improve this? My company and I have gone through different helpers, different people, and we just let go of a person who was a help, very much behind the scenes, and that she phased out. And I was like, okay, let's stop and have an AI day. How can we take all the things we were
Yeah.
outsourcing to her and put it into an automation and a tool that will
Yeah.
still let us have that freedom, but we will not have to hire somebody else and train somebody else and expect somebody else to stay, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we stop and reevaluate how can we make ourselves more efficient. And I want every single association, whether it's 40 people in DC, or a volunteer leader who gets $1.50 an hour and brings in the dog to a half day in the office, right? Um, just stop and look at ways you can automate. And my advice hasn't changed for decades.
Yes.
We've had tools that help us with this for a long time.
Yeah.
So stop and think rather than just muddling along. Oh, I can use it. Oh, I can use this.
Yeah.
As an association leader, what can we use? What can they use to make yourself more efficient, more streamlined, to weather the ups and downs of recruitment and retention and budgets better? How can we do that?
Yeah. Well, and I love that, setting aside time and looking at this in terms of solutions, because tech is only getting shinier and more distracting, and the squirrel factor has never been higher in tech. And so I see a lot of teams coming to the table like, oh, what's your favorite app? What are you using? What da, 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 da. And that's not the point. The point is what solutions, what problems are we trying to solve? And where can we make improvements, and then figure out the how. So I love that, Beth. We have to have you. We have to have you back. Hopefully, we'll see you at ASAE annual and all the association spots along the rest of the calendar year to chat tech. Don't wait online. Don't hold. Don't wait for the robots to tell you the fridge is coming. Just I love your kind of balance of pessimism and optimism in all this. So that's quite refreshing. But we can talk AI anytime. Hopefully, we'll have something new in the tech genre to talk about here soon, so that we don't get to AI exhaustion, which I'm closely approaching. But thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with the gathering of AI stories. I hear rumors that there's a comic book in the works, so we're excited to see that. Excited what comes of that. And Andrew, thanks for playing along today with our game. Thanks for
I'm just
showing
wondering.
up in person and
I'm
not.
just wondering at what point you recognize that this is just a piece of AI on the screen. It's not really Andrew at all. You just,
I was going to
yeah.
say he's
I'm gonna poke you.
appropriately, yeah, he's appropriately grumpy. He's appropriately not, understated. And the sweater vest, really, that kind of threw me a little bit, because the, what do you call this? A quarter zip?
It's a jumper.
A jumper. Okay, now I know it's Andrew, because he's using his Andrew words like jumper. So
British words is what they're called. Yeah.
his British words.
And y'all probably saw, I bet there were some cat sightings in here. So,
You're real.
I'm real.
You're real. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I change glasses every time, so people know that it's always an option, that I may or may not be actually here. But until next time, whether we're here or not, whether it's our avatars or our chatbots, put your members and your mission first.